All right. Wait for the little eye to pop up. Tells me it's connected. Welcome to Paranormal, the New Normal. I am your host, as always, Jeremy, bringing you into the beyond. And my guest tonight, I am excited to have because I've known him for, well, known him for years. We never actually got a chance to hang out and talk and whatnot, but someday I'll make up to one of the shows. But my guest this week is Justin Eldridge, aka Kazkit, and he is the founder of Closed Kazkit Paranormal Investigations, which I am excited to talk about that as well. So, how you doing tonight, Justin?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. How are you?
Started my new manager job, get to work from home now every day, so that's fucking dope.
Hey,
But
working at home is awesome. I wish I could do
it took
that.
it took me years of working in the field to get to that point, so I am very happy about it. But that's
Awesome.
not why that's not why we're here tonight.
No, sir.
So, why don't you give us what got you into the paranormal?
Well, I've been having paranormal experiences since as far back as I can remember. Literally, as far back as I can remember. I remember living in this house in Alton, New Hampshire, and I remember getting up in the middle of the night and seeing I can't some reason my mind blanks it. I can't think if it was for me. It was like a little boy, and I can remember a ball bouncing down the stairs towards me. I was probably maybe 4 or 5 years old. I mean, I remember that stuff, and I mean, honestly, I was one of the kids that was haunted by Hat Man when I was a kid too. That was all throughout my childhood. I would see the Shadow Man. It looked like the Undertaker to me, because obviously I was a wrestling fan, growing up. So to me, I thought it was like the Undertaker in my doorway, just staring at me while I'm trying to go to sleep at night. And I can remember like yelling to my dad, and my dad come running down down the hallway, and there's nobody there once the light comes on, you know.
Of
So
course
yeah,
not.
and I didn't know that that was a phenomenon until I got older, and I was looking. I was curious, so I just like started doing, what. Obviously, we didn't really get access to the internet probably until I was about 13 or 14 is when I got and that's when I started going, wait a minute, all these other people are having the same exact experience that I am, you know. So yeah, I was one of the millions of people on this planet that has been haunted by this unseen, unknown shadow figure called Hat Man.
Yeah, Hat Man is definitely a huge paranormal
Hmm.
figure. I mean,
Hmm.
I've heard multiple stories of people seeing him. I can't say I was ever blessed or cursed that way. I don't know which way to describe it
Yeah.
really, but because from what I've heard, he really doesn't interact with people he haunts. He
No.
just kind of stands there like the Undertaker at the entrance ramp staring at you.
Yep.
But
That's all. That's it. What I attributed it to the Undertaker when I was a kid. I really did because it was just like a shadow. There's no visible face, nothing. It's just a shadow, and the dude's wearing a large brim hat like the Undertaker. And so I attributed it to the Undertaker when I was a kid. So I thought maybe I was having an overactive imagination, and then obviously, once having access to the internet and able to, research this topic, I was like, oh my God, like millions of people around this whole planet are seeing the same thing I'm seeing. you know,
yeah,
it's a it's one of those things. It's crazy.
yeah. I mean, as far as Hat Man goes, I don't know if it's an interdimensional thing or if it's actually just a spirit of one person or multiple people, and that's just the shape they take. I mean, I can't explain it.
It's just ironic how out of million, there's what 8 billion people on the planet, millions out of those, so a certain percentage of those are seeing the exact same thing. It could be interdimensional. Who knows? We don't know for a fact. I mean, we're able to sometimes pick these things up with our cameras, but I mean, the Hat Man kind of thing kind of stopped around the time I turned about 16. I mean, that's really, I haven't seen him since then. But I mean, I was from 8 to 16 years old. I saw him in my doorway at night when I was a kid, constantly.
Which I mean, I can't imagine something that creepy because as a
Yeah.
kid, I would have been I was such a scaredy freaking baby as a kid, and I
Oh,
would have.
me too. Me too. I was terrified, but I mean, I yelled at my dad, and my dad would come running down the hallway, and then my dad would be like, "Nothing's there," they would, stop, shut up, and go to bed. So it got to the after a while. After a while, I just kind of got used to it, and I mean, it's funny because the now like I when I do paranormal investigations, like I have no fear. I rush at things. I
Yeah.
rush right at it. I don't run away. I see a lot of that's a lot of things I see with a lot of paranormal investigators is they have something happen and they run away because it's too much. Like, nah, man, if something like I've never been able to witness a lot of like poltergeist activity, which I always wished I could, because if you watch the videos, even when the investigators are doing it, they run away. Like, nah, man, just get closer, see if it will do something to you. And most of the time, they don't. I've never, no human has been known to be killed by a spirit. No, it's not been known. So I mean, let's not test that. Let's test the theory. I mean, I'm willing to bet my life on it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of one time where a spirit killed somebody unless it was
No,
unless they made it look like an accident and then they couldn't get blamed for it. But who knows? But
that, yeah.
yeah, that's a good segue right there. You were talking because since you brought it up, let's talk
Hmm.
about your paranormal investigation company that you started.
Hmm. Yep.
When did you first start that?
I started that about 4 years ago now. Um, we've actually haven't done too many investigations because we just the stuff from COVID basically happened right after we started. We started getting serious with it and everything. So we
Yeah.
weren't really able, but I mean, we've investigated. And this is actually something that I'm going to be working on for the future. I'm going to be working on making a documentary on it. In my hometown of Ospey, New Hampshire, there's this place out in the wood called it's called Archer's Road, and Archer's Pit, or as the locals call it. The local New Hampshians, Achis is what they call it. And there's legends about this place. And basically, what I want to do is try to figure out fact from the legend, and try to debunk some of the myth to it, because there's multiple stories of stuff that has happened there. But I mean, I've had paranormal experiences there. Misty, the first time I ever brought her there, she had paranormal experiences with me also. It's a very active place and always has been a very active place. I mean, uh, the history of the area. It was a Native American fort that the French came in and basically slaughtered them and buried them all in one big mound. And matter of fact, to this day, they built it where the golf course is, and they called it the Indian Mound Golf Course. And they built it, yeah, they built a golf course over the burial ground. And obviously, that ground is very, very not, the spirits are not happy, and they're very Native American, because I can remember being there as a kid and hearing drums in the woods, at night. So it's a very active spot. You go there and you've been on paranormal investigations ever where you're in somewhere haunted, and it's a weird feeling. I've always said it. You're like you're walking through water. The energy is so thick that it's like envelops your body, and you're walking through water. That place is at night. As soon as the sun goes down, it's like, man, that place, you just feel like you're walking through it, straight energy. It's crazy.
I've actually never been on any real paranormal investigation as of yet. It's
Hmm.
something I want. It's something I want to completely start doing because it's better for my show if I start doing it. And then people who run the network I post this on, Parapost, would love me to
Yep.
do some, but it's
Yep.
just time hasn't permitted it yet, and I don't have I have no equipment for it. So, but
Yeah.
I do live in a haunted house, so I
Me
mean
too.
I can't.
This is haunted. This house is
Yeah.
very haunted. Yeah. This house was built in I think they said 1800, 1890.
Oh no, my house was only built in the 1960s, but the people who built
Yeah.
it still live here.
Oh, well, there you go.
I
Yeah.
actually had Massachusetts paranormal investigators. I forget the name of the exact name of the society, but they came in back in December and did like a little walkthrough thing, which I won't bore my listeners with that again because they've heard that story multiple times. But
Hmm.
basically, I had a spirit talk to me,
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
which that was my first ever true experience with paranormal and actually having contact. I
We actually,
I,
yeah.
I have felt like things before, but I never actually have talked to anything till that day. But
I have found that if you're in tune to your senses, like you have to, uh, what's the word I'm searching for? Spirits search for people that have their lights on, is the only way I could ever explain it. They search for you. It's like you're a light in the darkness to them. And they tend to come towards you. And that's something that I found, I think, because of my experiences when I was younger, it kept me open. And since then, I've always kept my light on. That's the only way I can explain it. It's very hard to explain. And, they just seem to gravitate towards me whenever I go somewhere or whatever. I can feel it. I can feel their energy. The sudden change of a room. Like the energy will just change in the room. It's very strange. And actually, with Misty going with me on places, it's even better because she's way more in tune. Most of the time, most females are. They're way more in tune to the energies around us. Misty. That's like when that footage that it showed you. That whole time, she's telling me there's somebody behind her. And just before we got that shot, my flashlight started messing up, like it's flashing. So of course, that's why I had my flashlight there, and I had the what is it, the ghost meter there, the K2 meter, and I set
Yep.
it down there, and I was trying to get it to affect that because it stopped affecting the flashlight. It was like it knew what we were doing, and I noticed in this particular spot that we're at that the spirits there don't like to do tricks. They'll do what they want to do. And some of them, there's some that you come across that they're playful, that they want to mess with your meters. They want to do this, they want to do that. But then there's other ones that are just like, nah, dude, but we'll do what we want to do.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
when they investigated my house, the one investigator actually thought his equipment wasn't working and he'd have to get new stuff until he came to my house.
Yep.
And then the one spirit blew the meter all the way up to red, like within a
Yep.
second. And he was just like, "Oh my god, it works." I'm like, "I guess so." And that was right
Yeah.
before they talked to me. But
Mhm.
it's just, I mean,
And that,
you get creepy feelings in my house if you're up late at night.
yeah. Yeah.
Which,
And then the ones here in this house, they know when we're talking about them. They know when they're talking about them because they're here right now. They actually, we've had like ashtray
mm,
get lifted and dropped. See, like, well, I remember I posted something a little while ago, and I said 99.9% of poltergeist videos can be proved to be fake because it's just a lot to me with that stuff because I've seen what poltergeist activity is, and most of the time it's not the crazy violent thing. If I've never witnessed that, so that's just on me. But I mean, most of the stuff that I've seen is just simple stuff like a T-shirt being lifted off onto, like I have it on a coat hanger, and the coat hanger
yeah.
gets lifted like this, and then just dropped. Like I've witnessed that. The ashtray or a bottle moving or a bag moving, like that's what I've witnessed for what I call the poltergeist activity that happens here. And they definitely in this house, when you talk about it, they definitely they know it, and they're like, "Ooh, okay, cool. You want to talk about me? I'm gonna show you something."
Yeah, I mean, I've had that happen once or twice when I've been talking about the ones in this house. Like, but usually it's only at night if I'm talking about them on a podcast. That all of a sudden
Yeah,
I'll start to get like that feeling in the middle of my head, and like my back will all of a sudden get cold as could be, and it'll be like, okay, I know you're there. It's cool. Just chill out.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so
It's a very light energy here. It's not really nothing negative, luckily enough.
why don't you start out, since I did share that video out to my followers? Why
Yep.
don't you go and kind of explain what happened there last night?
Well, I can't say where I am because we're not supposed to be there.
I don't. You don't have to. You don't
Yeah.
have to say where. Just
Yeah, I can tell you privately where we are, where we were. But basically, it's in Massachusetts. It's an abandoned group of asylum buildings where the government used to do experiments on children there, feeding them radiated oats. And yeah, it didn't really turn out really that well. This was back in 1954, 53, something like that when they did that. The building was there up until 2014 when they closed down finally. Um, there's probably about roughly 17 to 18 buildings there. We had made our way in through the chapel, which is a very odd spot. There's something about the chapel that's not very good there. There's a lot of people have definitely done some kind of
cult type
trying to
stuff.
create cults type stuff in there, stuff like that. So obviously the energy in that place is really really odd. I've always had a bad feeling in there. Any pictures? I don't know if you saw the picture I posted to Facebook. The picture is like swirled pictures. You'll every 3 or 4 pictures, which is ironic. Every 3 or 4 pictures will be like that, even though you're not moving. Like you'll get this weird swirl, and then it will look like the orbs will look like actual like humans floating, like shapes of humans floating. Like in the middle of that picture, if you look at it, probably 10 feet above the pews, it looks like an orb of a human shape just floating there, which I
Huh.
did not see with my eyes. wasn't really looking. I was just flashing photos as I went. But yeah, and when you're inside that chapel, it's like 3 to 4 pictures, you'll get one where it's just everything's just weird and swirled, and you'll have these weird orbs in it and stuff. It's definitely interesting. I mean, and then we made our way to a couple other buildings. Nothing really happened, and then this one building we went into, and we walked into it, and Misty instantly was like, "I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go in there." And I was like, "Well, that means we have to go in there." That means we have to go in there. And she like I kind of had to like talk her into it, and we went in. And the whole time she said that it felt like there was somebody behind her, like right behind her. She's like, "They're right here. There's somebody right here." And I mean, throughout the whole night we're there, I kept feeling somebody tugging on my shirt. And I mean, there was no breeze. There was no. It's very dead air inside there. Very humid. And yeah, it's just dead air. And I kept feeling somebody tug on the back of my shirt, and I kept saying, I'm like, somebody keeps tugging on the back of my shirt. But that's the most I had happen there. And then when we were there with Misty, that's when she was like, oh, and like we stopped because my flashlight started messing up. And so I tried to make contact, and I mean, we didn't hear anything, or I didn't see anything in the video until I got home last night, and I pulled it up on my TV screen. We screen mirrored it, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a shoulder. That's a shoulder and a neck of somebody. And if you turn up the brightness on it, you can actually see through it. So it is translucent.
Huh. I'll have to try that on my computer later. But I totally did download that, and
And yeah,
I listened to it with the
yeah.
headphones on and everything, so I could hear everything. But it just, I mean,
And if you listen to me right after we're able to see that, you can hear me go, "Whoo," like a cold breeze, like a cold air just came through right after we got that on the video.
yeah,
So it was like,
I actually have pictures from when they were at my house too, like where it looks like someone's standing, like I was standing there, like with my arm like this, like touching my side, and it looked like
yeah,
in between my arm, it looked like there was a face.
oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's good.
I gotta find
Yeah,
that
well,
post in the group actually.
yeah, we didn't
But
see anything. I didn't see anything with my bare, we didn't see anything with our eyes. I didn't even notice it in the video until we got home. And right after we watched the video, we're like, well, let's try to figure this out. And I was like, there's no way that could have been Misty's shadow, because one, there was no light coming from the front of her. If anything, the light was from my camera, which was me turning like this, and it would have projected her shadow on the wall beside her, not behind her. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that person, and we figured out, would have to be roughly around my height, because we figured that she's up to my shoulder, just below my shoulder. So that person was roughly around my height, but much, much skinnier than me. They were like very, very skinny.
yeah. Which I mean, it was definitely a creepy video. I mean, I watched it multiple times, and I was just like, what is that? Like I was trying to figure it
Yeah,
out, but
I've gotten the screenshot or anything. The only thing I could attribute to, if you think, remember back in, I don't know if you've ever seen like movies from the 80s with the guys, they wear suits. Their suits have puffed up shoulders that are kind of
yeah,
weird. And it looked like one of those at the end, you know what I mean? Like those shoulder pad jacket from the 80s is kind of what I could only attribute it to. But they were very skinny. I mean, I don't know. It was definitely a good capture.
yeah, 100%. I mean, it definitely was. I when I saw the video, I was like, oh, I gotta share this out. I have to, if anything,
Yeah,
just to get some watchers tonight after seeing that video. But
yeah.
any crazy experiences when you're investigating, like things that shook you to your core?
Oh, only one place in the whole world, man. Letchworth Village in New York. Letchworth Village in New York absolutely terrified me, and I've only been back. I've only been there that one time. I can sometimes, during the course of an investigation, get a little aggressive, because sometimes you can get a little more if you're a little aggressive about it. I got a little too aggressive, and I got attacked. I literally had my shirt pulled up, like my shoulder. It felt like somebody pulled my shirt like this, and it felt like somebody was hitting my sides, like somebody with gigantic fists was hitting me on each side of my ribs, like punching me. And actually, right after that, while I'm trying to, because I ran out of the building after this happened, and I was sitting there with the other person that I was working with at the time, and I witnessed two full-bodied apparitions there right
Shit.
on the grounds of Letchworth Village.
Which
They Yeah,
where
that was amazing. And of course I was where was it?
where in New York is that? Because I'm
It's
from
called
New.
Letchworth Village. It's about an hour north of New York City. Actually, Ghost Adventures had gone there, and that was the idea of let's go there because it's only 4 hours away. And I only went there that one time, and I've never gone back since. And I've been thinking that maybe it's time that I think I'm ready to face it again.
An hour north of New York City. I'm trying to think of this because I grew up 2 hours north of New York City.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Ghost Adventures did a whole episode on it once. I think it was in their first season, and
what
they had experiences there also.
what town is that near though? I'm trying to think of. I know the name, but I'm trying to think of where it is.
If I had another phone, I could probably look it up. But I know
Ah,
it's about 4.5 hours 4.5 hours west of here. Basically go west south really. But yeah, it's like an hour north of New York City. It's basically they what's the Geraldo Rivera did a special back in the 60s on exposing asylums on the East Coast, and Litchworth was one of the big ones he went to. They had children there that weren't fully clothed. They were feces all over the floor. They were feeding them with spoons for the same people for 80 people. It was a horrible, horrible place. And matter of fact, the I didn't even know about the Gerardo Rivera thing when I went there. After I witnessed what I witnessed, I was watching the video and I noticed these people that were there were in these white gown like sack. They look like sack sort of deals. Well, the person that I saw was wearing one of those. And what I had thought originally, because I've never seen a full bodied apparition at that point in my life, when I saw it, I thought it was other people investigating. So I was just kind of like, hey, let them know that there's other people here. So there's nothing, so they don't think that we're something. And well, the problem was I walked out and I was like, hey, and I probably got from I don't know 15 feet away, and it ran away from me. But the one thing I remembered is thinking there was no sound of its feet hitting the ground. There should have been because they were beaten feet, like they saw me and they ran, and then they just disappeared.
oh, it's in Rockland County. Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
it's definitely. I know. No, I'm trying to see what the hell town it's in because I know that area.
yeah,
Okay. Oh, it's a little bit south of Newburgh. Okay, yeah, I kind of know where that is. I grew
yeah,
up. I grew up basically an hour north of there, but
yeah.
so all right, yeah. Whenever people say something in New
That
York,
place
I'm
is
like,
terrifying. Absolutely
I'm
terrifying.
I'm sure. It sounds like a Silent Hill game for God's sakes.
Yeah, yeah. That place is terrifying. Yeah, yeah, that place is terrifying. That and my first ever experience that I had with a dark spirit inside of a house that I lived in was my most terrifying, actually.
Now, when you
And
say
that's when
dark
I was about,
spirit,
yeah.
what do you mean by dark spirit?
I'm not, I'm not because I'm not sure that if it was a demonic entity or if it was just a evil human entity.
Okay.
That's why I was never exactly sure. Um, but I mean, I lived in when I was, let's see, my daughter's 16 now. My daughter was probably 8. So yeah, it was, it's that long ago, you know. We had gotten to this farmhouse. It was built in 1863 in the small town of Tamworth, it's actually a good town, one of the towns I grew up in. And I remember when the person was showing us around, and I was, looking around, and inside the closet in what was to become I think it was my bedroom. Yes, it was my bedroom. There was somebody had drawn a pentagram inside of the closet, but they tried to paint over it with white paint, but you could see it over the paint. You could see it bleeding through the paint.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, you could never cover it up. We tried. I tried everything to cover it up. It wouldn't. It kept bleeding through.
Huh.
I mean, I used to be a painter. I used to paint for a painting company, and so I tried like kills, which is basically like you paint cinder blocks so they're always white.
Yeah.
Wouldn't cover it up. I mean, The first really experience there is one of our roommates. We rented out a room to my friend Rich, and him and I were sitting downstairs. And I mean, there was stuff, Madison, my daughter, she would be talking to people, stuff like that. And she said there was a boy named Thomas that would come out of her closet at night, and he had a scary face, um, and all this stuff. And sometimes he would scare her by coming out of the closet. She'd scream, and other times you could hear her talking to him in her bedroom at the time. She'd be talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, it's just Thomas, Dad, no worries." But my our roommate Rich were sitting downstairs, and at the time, my kid's mother and the kids, they had left to go to her father's house to go have dinner or something, and we heard somebody run down the stairs, open up the front door of the house, and it was a wraparound porch around the house, but we had the shades down, and run around the wraparound porch, and you could see the shadow of somebody and then run off the porch, and then nothing. I jump up and I'm like, what the hell? So I like go and look. Nobody's outside. Nobody been in the house. So I thought, hey, maybe they forgot something. And then so I called her at the time, and she said, no, we've been at my dad's, and he lived a good 25, 30 minutes away. So that
Yeah.
was my first experience in that house of something that I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And then, I mean, there was multiple weird things. Toys started talking, saying things that they shouldn't say. Uh, I mean, toys that don't even have batteries in them are talking. you know, uh, Lawrence Trask, who was an old friend of mine, where him and I used to be in a rap group together. We're sitting there recording one night, and we could hear something talking through the microphones. We could actually hear whatever this was speaking in through the microphone, speaking like actually we figured out it was speaking Latin to us.
Huh.
Yeah, and I never got around to translating it because I didn't want to fucking know.
Uh, I can't say I would either, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sounds demonic in nature though,
Well,
because
it escalated. It escalated a lot. It escalated a lot. It escalated to the point that Rich was upstairs with his girlfriend, and they were both getting choked by something that wasn't there. They were seeing something behind the door in their room. My kid's mom at the time was seeing but somebody stand in the corner of the bedroom at night. I started hearing voices I started hearing voices. I started hearing things telling me to hurt my family and all this stuff. And it got pretty bad for a little while. Like there was a moment that her and I got into an argument, and she said and then I come to, and she's like, that wasn't just you. Like you said some terrible things. And yeah, it got pretty crazy up into the point that we ended up splitting up and moving out because of all the things that happened. And actually, nobody ever lived in that house again. As a matter of fact, they tore it down.
well,
It's completely gone now.
probably the right thing to happen to it, I'm sure. But
Oh, absolutely. As soon as we moved out, because it was weird. When I was there, I didn't want to leave the house. I felt like I needed to stay at the house. I felt like I needed to keep an eye on everything. I quit my job at the time, so I could just stay at home and keep an eye on everything at the house. It was strange.
yeah, I mean, I've heard of houses like that where they want you to stay in the house because they want to be able to mess with your head more and more. But
Yep. Yeah, I was having dreams, terrible dreams of doing terrible things to my children, to my family, all this stuff. And I mean, there was one day where me and Madison and Harley were just sitting there in the living room, and I just fell asleep. And I wake up to my mom, like my mom banging on my door, and I come to, and I can smell gas all throughout the house. Somehow, while all of us were sleeping too, which is strangely enough. Somehow, a gas leak started in the house while we were, and we all felt. Even my daughter and my Harley, who was my youngest daughter, was a baby at the time, and we never just fall asleep. You know what I mean? We all fell asleep around the same time, and we all woke up to my mom banging on the door. So if it wasn't for my mom banging on the door, we could have died from acute propane poisoning by, or even carbon monoxide from the gas.
yeah, which did you figure out what the source of the gas was, or
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Somehow the pilot light had gotten put out while the gas. So, which doesn't make sense because it was a brand new gas stove. That doesn't usually happen.
yeah, I mean that definitely seems like something supernatural in origin would messing with you trying to do that, or
Yeah,
trying to make you join them. But
Yeah, that's the only thing I've ever attributed to with that. I was like, it had to, but that was, I mean, that was terrifying. That was definitely my first experience with that. But I mean, years later, I mean, I met Lorraine Warren, sweetest lady in the world. I met Lorraine at one of her dinner parties that she used to do. You paid to go and have dinner with her, and you had dinner with her nephew, Tom, from Haunted Collector.
yep.
That was great. She was a wonderful woman. She said there's something about my aura, which is beautiful. Very nice woman. Got the tour of the museum. It was awesome. Got to see Annabelle. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Sounds pretty awesome. I mean,
Yep.
everybody in the paranormal world knows the Ed and Lorraine Warren story. So I mean,
Absolutely. You know, their stories are basically reading them were stories that I was like, because I didn't even know about Ed and Lorraine Warning until after this dealing with this dark spirit stuff. And then I talked to Lorraine about it, and Lorraine was like, well, it doesn't follow you now, dear, and the house is gone. You have nothing to worry about. She goes, something about your aura now means that those ones will probably leave you alone.
huh? Which I mean, did you watch the house get destroyed by chance? Because I always wondered, like, if you watch a house like that get destroyed, if you actually can see like the spirits like moving
I
on in a way.
I didn't get a chance to see it. I didn't get a chance to see it, but my daughter still talks about Thomas, and I believe that Thomas wasn't a little boy. I believe that it was somebody trying to make her, because I mean, it was just certain things just didn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, spirits can make. Well, I have a whole philosophy on spirits that involves spirits and shadow people and everything else, but it's basically like, just to do it fast, because I've done it on the show for like 10 minutes at a time before, multiple times. But basically,
Yeah.
it's that when you first die, you're a misty type spirit, not to be confused with Misty Rain, but like a misty aura of a spirit. But
Yeah.
and then eventually you can turn yourself into a shadow person because you can make yourself take shape to some degree, and then eventually you can become a full body apparition. Basically, my theory is that becoming a spirit is like being a baby. It's like you have to learn everything over again. You have to learn
Hmm.
how to interact with the world again. Which
Right.
I've had people on the show tell me, "Oh no, you're wrong. That's not how it is." And I've had other people be like, "Oh, you're right. That makes sense." Like it's everybody's different
Who we
theories.
who are we to know? You know, we don't
Yeah.
know for a fact. We don't know for a fact. Yes, we have instruments that can measure certain things, but for we don't know for a fact. You know, I have a theory myself. I have a theory myself because you ever hear about how multiple locations of the same ghost haunting, and they're all places that that person has been to in their life. Say per Elvis, you know, they say Elvis haunts his home. They say he haunts this place. It's a concert hall. They say he haunts this place. I have a theory that anywhere in your life that you leave a piece of your DNA, a hair, anything of your digital, because DNA can be digitized. Any part of you that you've ever left anywhere, I feel that you can visit that place as a spirit after you passed on. Now, the crazy part about that theory is I had a spirit confirm that for me
Huh.
through through right through a SP1. Kyle confirmed it for me, and he also said it blows his mind that he's a ghost because he never believed in ghosts.
Not the first time I heard that part actually about a ghost not believing they're a ghost, but
Yep,
I
he
mean,
didn't believe it. Yep, he said. I asked him. I said, "How does it feel?" I said, "How does it feel to be a ghost?" And he goes, "Boom." Blows his mind because that was always his thing when he said when something blew his mind, he'd go boom.
yeah.
And then I asked him, I said, Kyle, remember my theory on ghosts and if you leave DNA behind, is that true? And he goes, yes, yes, it is. So, and his mother claims that they can hear him in the basement there. He's been here. He spent a lot of time with Missy and I. He was basically a third wheel in our relationship. So he was here a lot with us. And never mind that I have some of his ashes here with me also. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know he was like a third wheel to you guys. That's all. I've seen enough pictures of him and you guys to know that. But
yep, yep. But I asked him, I said, I was like, do you want to go? Do you want to? And he said, no, I want to stay. I want to stay with you guys. That's exactly what he said.
oh,
So I'm gonna let him do it as long as he wants, and someday I hope to be able to join him. and then we can be haunting everybody. I'm gonna be a horrible, mean ghost and haunt everybody. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, part of me want I can't wait either for that, so I can figure out what's out there actually. But
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm a, I'm a, I'm a, I'm a very outside of the box thinker. So I actually, after Kyle died, I fell down the rabbit hole of life after death for probably a good year. I didn't do music or anything. I was like a madman. I was researching everything. I was just obsessed with it. I was talking to people about their near-death experiences. And I'm convinced there is something. I mean, I'm not a Christian or anything. I'm more of an agnostic. I believe
same.
that there, I believe that there is a higher power, but I don't believe in any particular one because what if it's wrong? You know what I mean? It's just so I believe that we're beings of energy, and I mean when we pass on, it's been proven with instruments that some kind of energy, something does leave our body, as in a soul or even if energy. You look at pictures of the universe, everything's the same. You see pictures from the James Webb Telescope, and you see the swirl galaxies, but then you see the swirls and flowers, you see the swirl, like the geometric patterns, and everything is like sevens and stuff like that. Like it's all like connected in one energy. I believe that we're all connected to this one energy, and we're able to step into it as we pass on.
Which makes sense in my mind as well, because I mean, like Einstein said, energy cannot be destroyed, so it has to go
Yeah,
somewhere after death. And
yeah, yes.
Albert Einstein, one of the most smart men ever to exist, truly believed in ghosts himself. He said we have to exist after death because what happens to us? We can't just disappear.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I honestly think that we're beings of energy. I didn't, this is like our meat suit. You know what I mean? It's an easy way to explain it. This is a meat suit. This is where it's just ironic is as somebody dies, a baby is born. It's proven. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I feel like sometimes this energy can be recycled, and obviously you don't keep the memories because the memories are stored within our brain,
yeah.
so the energy gets recycled into something else. So therefore it's a possibility. It is a form of reincarnation. I mean, I've researched a lot of things with like Buddhist religion. Very interesting stuff, man. I love reading about that. Their reincarnations, basically you keep living this life over and over and over again until you get it right and you get it perfectly, and you find yourself in nirvana. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I've read a lot about Buddhism and Hinduism as well, and
Yeah,
over there in Asia, they have a lot of reincarnation stories that are just they're
yeah,
too realistic to be false. They're like you
right.
can't like
Yeah.
kids wouldn't know the things they know about past lives. They
Hmm.
can't make this shit up. I mean, they literally
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah,
So
I mean, what was it? The story about the boy that was talking about? He's talking about dying in a fighter, as a fighter pilot in World War II, and there's no way this kid could have known anything about airplanes from World War II when he's 4 years old.
yeah,
There's no way. I mean, I had no interest in anything to do with wars when I was even not until I was in my teenagers, and I was like, this is cool. I'll read about this. You don't learn about any of that stuff at a young age. It's not like your parents sit there and tell you about World War II when you're 4 years old.
no, I mean that story is one of the ones too that makes me believe. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's a famous story out of India where a 8-year-old girl was able to go like 400 miles away from her house and point to the house that she lived in a previous life and actually meet her previous husband from previous life.
Husband, yes, yes, I read about that. That's convincing, absolutely convincing. And she knew things about her husband that he wouldn't have known otherwise. Nobody would have known.
Yeah,
So it's
reincarnation's like such a trippy thing because it has to be true, like to some degree. I mean,
yeah.
my wife believes the mastiff puppy we just had is her dog she had before she met me that is reincarnated as this new dog.
Is it because the energy feels the same?
The dog
Is that what
acts
she
the same.
says?
Yeah, the dog acts the same, and it has the same like birthmark almost.
This dog right here, okay, Lucy. Misty swears to God she had this dog when she was younger. A dog named Tug. I think she always says she reminds me so much of Tug, like the stupid stuff he does. So I mean, maybe you never know. It's possible. I mean,
Yeah,
they're conscious beings also. You know, who
yeah.
knows? I
which
mean, what is consciousness? You know, you can't. You go to a scientist and you ask them, explain to me what consciousness is, and they don't know. We don't understand what consciousness is. Why are we able to perceive the world as, you know? Do we live in a matrix? Do we live in that? You know, we don't know. But I guess someday we may find out.
Oh, I am one to fully believe that we are living in an alien matrix system that they built just to keep us dirtball planet people freaking entertained.
I believe that, we are beings of energy, but I also believe that our bodies were the results of rapid evolution. I think that we were a species that was slaved. We were supposed to be for slave labor, and we were supposed to building the pyramids and stuff like that. Because I mean, you look at how they did it. They figured out the math. Okay, if you had 10,000 people building the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, it was still taking almost 700 years to build. And
Yeah.
in the mythology, I believe they said it was built in 30 years. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
We can't reproduce that to this day. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if we. I mean, slave. I mean, that makes sense to me as well. A slave race type thing. I could see that, but
Yeah.
or
Battlefield Earth, man. Battlefield Earth.
uh,
I, it's a
that's
fantastic book. Fantastic book.
okay.
Fantastic book. Awful movie.
I was gonna say, I was say, I'm pretty sure I saw the trailer for that movie. It looked horrible, but
It was a guy. Earl Ron Hubbard wrote it. The guy behind
oh, okay.
Scientology. Yeah. So that's why it's
Oh
crazy. You know.
God,
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Scientology. I take South Park's view on that. But
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think it's just a cult. That's all it is. All Scientology is a cult. That's all
oh
it is.
God, yes, full cult,
Uh,
full cult.
as in 99% of the world's religion, just a cult. It's
Hmm.
just a way. It's a way to keep you under control, to keep you in check. That's all it is. I mean, because you imagine. There's a movie that they made not too long ago. I saw it on Amazon Prime. Is this guy was able to prove that there was an afterlife. Okay, he was able to prove there's afterlife. Well, that and they fast forward 7 years. About 3 billion people committed suicide because they knew there was an afterlife. So it started this big thing where they were like, save, don't stay here with us, don't go there, and all this stuff. And it turns out that actually he wasn't quite as sure as he thought he was.
Well, I
But
mean, according to a lot of beliefs, if you commit suicide, you're not going to an afterlife anyway. But
you'll go to purgatory.
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I've been told by mediums it's not as black and white as that. Like, I've been told by mediums that we are all energy beings, and that when we die, we basically go back to a waiting room, waiting for a new body to inhabit.
Interesting. So you go to a
Which,
waiting room.
yeah, which I mean, I guess that could. Which I asked them, like, is that reincarnation basically, where if you don't get your life right, you just go to the waiting room again to try to live it again, but if you get it
Right.
right, you move on, and they're like, I can't confirm that, but that would make sense. Like she's like, that's the sense I get when I talk to my spirits.
Hmm. See,
But
I'm very iffy when it comes to mediums. Very, very iffy. Because a lot of times it's just really good guessing. And there are people that are really good at doing that. You know,
oh,
there is some.
I wish I recorded it. I wish I recorded it. The episode of my show that just dropped this past this past Saturday with Nina Roberts, medium. She
Mhm.
at the end of our recording, I stopped the recording, and she basically said there was a spirit right over here next to my chair. Which the whole time we're talking, I'm getting a feeling like right in the middle of my brain. My back is
Yep.
cold as shit. And like the whole time we're recording, but I just played it off naturally. I didn't want to bring it up during the recording. But as soon as we got done
Yeah.
recording, I told her like what I was feeling, and she's like, "There's a spirit right next to you," and like it ended up basically being one of my grandfathers, according to her. She doesn't know me
Interesting.
she doesn't know me from a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
My grandfather, neither of my grandparents were really on Facebook ever, so or
Mhm.
any internet thing. So she couldn't have looked all this up beforehand and known like anything about me. So I used to be really skeptic and like very iffy about medium psychics as well before I started
Mhm.
the show. I've talked to enough of them now that I'm just like, all right, I kind of feel like there is some sincere ones out there. I'm sure there still are the carnival, the ones at the carnival that just want to take your $5. But
Yeah,
I mean,
there's quite a, like the ones that get the big TV shows and stuff. I don't really believe.
oh,
I
I don't
think
buy
it's
those at all. No, if you're doing major TV shows, you're not a real psychic. You're just trying to make money. Like what's that guy? The biggest douchebag in the universe. I forget his name. But
Chip Coffee.
no,
I like
they,
Chip.
they,
Chip. I met Chip Coffee. He's actually a nice guy.
no, this
I,
guy they hated on him on South Park like fucking 15 years ago. I forget his name. Uh,
what is that guy's name? He used to have the show on Sci-Fi.
yeah, I can't remember his name for life of me. But I never.
John Williams, something like that. He had his own show on Sci-Fi that was kind of like the Rhode Island Medium, where she would be standing in the middle of the room and have a bunch of people around him. I remember that.
That guy, but I don't think his name's John Williams because that's the Star Wars guy. But
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, I can't remember what his name. I remember he had a show on Sci-Fi, but yeah, he was actually proven to be a fraud, if I remember right, along with the
oh,
Rhode Island Medium lady. She was proven
yeah,
to be a fraud also.
a
Yep,
lot of
she
them
was
are.
proven.
A lot of the ones that get Ray famous are. But
Yep.
in the last 5 years or so, I've had a lot of people tell me there's a spiritual awakening going on, and a lot more people are coming into their abilities and accepting their abilities that they have for this type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I fully believe it's happening because I think I have abilities to some degree, and by talking to psychics and mediums, I'm learning to open my abilities in some way. And
Oh, I agree with the ability thing. A lot of people have it. It's like I've always felt that I do have some kind of ability because I can sense when they're around me. See, I've just never tried to hone it because I'm just like, yeah, I'm good with that. Come in, come in. I'm just like I never tried to hone that. I don't really care to. But my daughter, on the other hand, my daughter is going through this at 16 years old, noticing things and feeling things. Literally talks about how there's a man up inside the barn of my house, and Misty goes, "Oh my God, my mom used to think there was a man standing up there staring at her while she was doing laundry out there." And my daughter, like to a T, like is like describing people that are here that are here.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely abilities out there. I 100% believe it, and I just think now it's becoming more a thing because, like the name of my show, paranormal is becoming a new normal thing now. It's not like it was when we were kids, where it was all hush hush and oh, we're Christians, we don't talk about that type of stuff. But
Yeah, that's because mostly religion just shut it down. That's what
oh,
happened, and a lot of people are looking. A lot of people are looking beyond that now, because Jesus and God doesn't answer the questions for them. You know, I was a kid. I grew up religious. I was brought to church and stuff like that when I was a kid, and I mean, I would try to understand things, and a preacher would say, "It's God's will. It's God." That's not an answer. You just gave me even more questions by asking it. You
that
know.
that's a scapegoat. That's all it is, a
Yeah,
scapegoat.
it's a scapegoat because they won't, because it doesn't align to their religious belief, so therefore it does not exist. That's 99% of Christians that I've come across in my life just don't. They'll avoid the subject altogether because it's a complete taboo.
Yep.
It's a taboo subject. We don't talk about that. I mean, it even says it. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, it even says like people that practice witchcraft, that do this, those are the people that go to hell. It says it in the Bible, and it's just like, I've met a lot of people that practice witchcraft who are nice people, and I've used their, witchcraft stuff to help bring out spirits and stuff. It does sometimes work. My daughter does a lot of stuff with crystals and stuff like that now. So she's trying to, she's working on her thing, and someday she'll be joining us on our investigation. She wants to go now, but I told her, I was like, you're still a little too young.
Yeah, you gotta, because something
Oh, there
couldn't.
goes your video. Oh, and you're back.
Yeah, we've been freezing on and off the whole time. I think it has something to do with the echo too. I don't know, but
Uh-oh.
it seems
Oh,
to be
there you go.
working. It seems to be working
There you
okay
go.
though. So,
Yeah.
huh?
But yeah,
It's,
my daughter would love to join us on the investigations, but she's a little too young for it right now. I told her when she turns 18, I'd be more comfortable with her going with me and stuff.
yeah, because you don't want to take someone too young because they're not experienced enough with knowing how to handle things, and a spirit can
You know,
easily try to take advantage of that.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's one thing that see, the first time Misty never been to this place where we went to last night, and I wanted to bring her by herself before we bring anybody else. because I was like, you need to feel how it is, you know, and you're back and I'm back. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically I just, I wanted her to feel how it is by herself and everything and learn that if you show these things fear inside of these places, they will latch onto you and they will follow you. And that's what happened to her because she was fearful.
Yep. Which actually,
Oh,
I
you
keep,
got the
I
froze.
keep, yeah. We, I keep seeing you freeze. I don't see me freezing, but I mean, I don't know. It's a weird connection
You're
tonight. But
frozen.
with this
Got
show, that
frozen.
happens. With this
Get
show,
away,
that
Abby.
happens a lot of times. But
You back yet? No?
I've been here the whole time. Like I've been here the whole time.
Oh,
Can you hear me? All right, there. All right, yeah. We lost him for a second, folks. We'll get him back in a second. There he is.
it's weird.
Yeah, sometimes when it starts freezing like that, if the guest backs out, like gets kicked out and then goes back in, it works better. I don't know why.
I've used StreamYard for other interviews I've done, so I was like, oh, okay, just boop.
But actually, I don't know if you came across this when you were looking through my episodes, but I actually interviewed someone in one of my first episodes that knew you,
Really, who was it? I don't think I missed that one.
AJ Capasso from the Webster.
AJ. Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of my first interviews on this show, and he actually got me on Parapost Network because he's friends with the person who started it.
Yeah. Oh no shit. Yeah. AJ. Yeah, I know AJ. Wow.
Yeah, because he said like, he told me he's like anytime you want to go to a show at the Webster, just hit me up. I'll get you in backstage like passes and everything for free. And I
Yep.
was like, all right. And I'm like, wait a minute, do you know Casket and Misty Rain? He's like, yeah, I know them. So I'm like, if it's the Webster, I know you guys have played there. So I'm like, he has to
Yep.
know you. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
Misty hasn't played there, but I have. Yeah.
well, I mean, she's been with you when you played there, I'm
Yep.
sure. but
Yeah. Oh yeah. Plenty of times.
but yeah, which we're gonna talk more about that next week because
Yeah.
her first full length CD needs to come out. But I'm
I
dying to
know,
hear it.
man. I know. She's been going through like a mind blank period, so I'm letting her ease her way out of it, and I actually went through a mind blank period too, so I'm slowly getting back into writing music now, actually.
It happens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, after the death of Kyle, I was really affected. That was my road dog, man. We were together for years, and it took me a while, and then Misty was like, it was one of those things where I'm like, well, Misty, you're always going to these shows with us, and you can rap. Why don't you just come up there with me now? And the rest is fun.
Yeah, actually, I was at the first show. You performed at the show, yeah, that I saw Misty at. So yeah, you definitely were there because
Yeah.
Drizzle came up on stage for the first time.
Oh, Abby, yeah, yeah, Little Drizzle,
Yeah,
yeah. She
yeah,
she she did a song. She was in a song with Misty and I, and Smokey B. It was our song we made for Kyle after he passed away. Yeah, she wrote her own verse and everything for her. She's somebody else that's gonna start. She's gonna be working on music as soon as she can. Abby's she's 13. She wants to do
yeah.
music, but she's got to learn first.
Of course. Yeah, because she actually that was her first concert actually because it was the ICP concert. That was her first ICP concert. Because
Yep,
I never Misty tell me that when we were walking down the road and I was smoking with Misty. But
yep,
yeah, okay. So 100% you were there that time. I know you were.
yep,
So
yeah. I remember that was the ICP tour. Yeah, because yeah, I definitely remember that because I did an old song there that was a completely messed up song that I should have never done, and I remember seeing people's look on their face and they're like, "What did he just say?"
if I'm not mistaken, that was the one with green jelly, right?
No, no, it's the song called "Said," where it
Oh no no
basically
no
just.
no. I mean that's
Oh
the show
yes,
that. Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Green Jelly was there. I remember that. I'm too old to mosh now, so I was sitting back watching all the people mosh with the puppets. It was awesome.
Oh, I was moshing. I
I
got knocked
probably
to my.
saw you out there.
I got
Yeah,
knocked.
I probably.
I was hard to miss back then, almost 400 pounds, but I got knocked on my ass pretty damn bad in that mosh pit. But it's a
Yeah,
Juggalo concert, so you get helped up
of
instead of getting
course,
stomped on.
of course. That's the best part about a Juggalo concert. Yep.
But yeah, that was actually my first mosh pit experience. So
Oh, yeah.
I waited a long time. I waited a long time to get into those shits. But
I see my mosh pit concerts originally they weren't ICP. It was like Lamb of God and all that. So those mosh pits are not nice. So
no,
going in and then as I when I didn't really get into Juggalo culture until I was like 13 or 14, and then getting into the culture I was like, oh my God, these people are helping me up. This is fantastic. They're not trampling me. People aren't punching me in the face. This is awesome.
yeah, and thankfully that wasn't the ICP concert I did acid. That was the one before that. But
Uh, uh, those
but
that could make for a really creepy concert, man. Hey,
I
I'm
black.
I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm believer that mind-altering substances can take you to different places. I'm a firm
I
believer.
I can't tell you what happened because I blacked out. I blacked out when the opener went off the stage, and then I woke up once to POD doing "I Feel So Alive," and then I woke up one more time to DJ Paul with a gold mask on, yelling "666." So,
Jesus, so I guess that wouldn't have helped.
but luckily I was there for all the ICP performance, thank God. But because
Yep,
that was actually my first ICP show too, so
yep.
I never I
Jeez.
never got to see them. I never got to see them live. I got to see Twisted live like 5 6 years before that. But
Yeah.
the Twisted show was fucking, oh my God, one of the best concerts I ever went to was that Twisted show. But
They used to be awesome. I have no love for Twisted anymore at all whatsoever. I've
I
had
don't,
I
I
have
don't like.
I'll save it for your other podcast, but I've had just bad personal experience working in or around them.
Yeah, I'll just say I don't like the direction their music's heading in nowadays. But
They don't care about juggalos, That's just how it is.
which I
That's
mean,
just how
yeah,
it is.
they just want to get where they just want to get to where like the rock band stuff they want to do from the beginning. I think, but
Yeah, I'm not down with it. I'm not cool. I don't. It's not my thing. I don't. I don't know. Their music's just not what I enjoy anymore. Not at
it's
all.
not. It's not. I mean, it's actually funny because in my music show tomorrow, the CD I brought to the table was Independence Day,
Oh, there you go. There you go.
which it's actually the first Twisted album to make it on our show. But because I've been waiting, I wait for the right people to do certain things. But you'll find out
Yep.
about you'll find out about that next week.
All right.
Actually, you'll
Yeah.
find out about
I was say
you'll
you'll find out about what I bring to the table for you.
well, I was gonna say you'll find out about it tomorrow night when I send you the 2 albums that we announced at the end tomorrow night that are our 2 albums. So,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
I have something special in mind for it, but we'll see.
Perfect. Perfect.
But all right. Well, unless you have any more experiences you want to talk about, we could jump over to creature feature.
Let's get the creature feature, man. I'm happy for that.
All right. Well, we'll jump to my favorite segment of every show, and that is creature feature, because most of us don't have experiences with these types of creatures, but we like to talk about them anyway and discuss their
Absolutely.
possibilities.
Yeah.
And since you're in New Hampshire, and I drive through New Hampshire, or at least I did for work all the time, and I drove to New Hampshire today just to get cigarettes on the border, but
There you go.
because you can't buy menthols in freaking Massachusetts, because Massachusetts sucks.
I
But
have people want to buy menthols from me all the time because I smoke menthols when I go to shows in Mass. That's hilarious.
I live I live right on the border of Ringe, New Hampshire, so I'm all set. But
Yep. Yep.
so, but since it's New Hampshire, let's talk Bigfoot, because Bigfoot is a New Hampshire entity for sure.
Mhm.
So, first off, have you had any encounters with Bigfoot in New Hampshire?
None at all.
Really?
Not
As
even no sound. It's not, when I was younger, we were staying at a place in out in the woods camping, and we remember hearing these really loud noises in the wood at night, and my mom just being like, "Oh, it's just a baby bear dancing on a picnic table." And thinking back upon it now, that was definitely not a baby bear. But I actually I am probably one of the lone people that are in the paranormal field that just I don't really believe in Bigfoot. I don't. It's just my father, growing up hunting, fishing in the woods. I grew up in Tamworth, which is in the White Mountains. I grew up in the mountains. Never saw anything. I never saw any tracks. Nothing. I never saw anything. But I mean, the stories always interested me. They always did. The Patterson film, stuff like that. That was a really interesting. Even though Patterson himself, on his deathbed, admitted that they faked it.
I have heard multiple versions of that tale, but
Uh,
I mean, I've heard that Patterson didn't really say that people just made him say that so that he could get. And I've also heard that Men in Black made him say that, but I mean, who knows? He's unless someone could talk to his spirit, I don't know. But and I'm pretty sure Gimlin's still kicking, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
And I'm pretty sure he to this day still holds the fact that it was real.
I mean, you think
But
about it, they really didn't make anything monetary off of it.
exactly. I mean, yeah, they got to tour conventions for years and years, but that's it. They're
Yeah.
not getting paid. You're not getting paid a lot to do that. So if
Right,
anything,
right. And I mean, unless you've really been out to the northern woods of California, you don't know how ominous those woods are.
well,
When I was on tour in 2017, we were like, "Hey, let's go check out the Great Redwood Forest up in Humboldt County, California." The forest is like nothing like here in New England. Nothing.
oh yeah,
The trees are gigantic. It's humongous. There's a good possibility that a great ape could be hiding there. It's a possibility. I wouldn't.
well, I actually had Mark Matsky of Small Town Monsters. I don't know if you know who
Mhm.
Small Town. Have you heard of Small Town Monsters?
No, no.
They are they have two podcasts, one Monsteropolis and one called Sass What, and
Mhm.
they put out documentaries basically a couple a year through Small Town Monster Productions,
Yep,
and a lot of them are on Amazon Prime for free. You really should check them out if you're into this stuff. But
definitely.
um, Mark Maskey's a big part. He does their two podcasts, and he's a background guy more than anything on the documentaries. But
Yep.
he they went to the Olympic project in Washington, and
Mhm.
they captured footage of what looks like rows and rows of Bigfoot nests.
Really
And
interesting.
they actually just were up in Alaska earlier this year to film Bigfoot the final part of the journey because they went to Alaska to try to talk to natives up there about Bigfoot and try to capture footage of tracks or whatever they could find. They spent
Mhm.
a good 3 weeks up there, and I mean he Small Town Monsters basically made me believe. I mean, I basically believed before I heard about them, but their
Yeah,
documentaries made me believe 100% in Bigfoot because there's just too many sightings of Bigfoot for them all to be fake. I mean, there's
that's
sightings going
true.
back. There's sightings going back to Native Americans for God's sakes, and there's not just Bigfoot. There's the Yowie in Australia. There's the Yeti in Tibet and other surrounding areas of the Himalayas. I mean, every country has their own eight-man stories. Which I mean, England has Sasquatch stories too. I mean,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's
I
interesting.
talked I talked to Waza or Wayne from Night Sky Paranormal on my show a couple months ago, and he's an
Mhm.
investigator over in UK, and he says like we have Bigfoot over here. He's like 100%. I mean, we're an island, and we have Bigfoot over here because they are everywhere. They evolved with humans basically, and they're just. I mean, if you want to say we're an alien slave race, maybe we weren't the only ones they created on this planet.
It's possible. Yeah.
Or I mean, even if you
I
go
mean,
back to
I'm skeptical looking at it, but I always have an open mind. You know,
which is the way to be, which
it's one of those things where I have to see it with my own eyes. You know what I mean? And that's why any Bigfoot investigator in New Hampshire wants to take me out to show me Bigfoot. I am open to it. I will go do it, and I'll keep my skeptical mind. If seeing is believing for me, and it's just one of the things I've never seen. But there I've heard stories. I've heard stories about people seeing Bigfoot. My brother has claimed to see Bigfoot. My brother claimed that it picked up a 50-pound, uh, a 50 gallon like steel drum that was full of water and throw it.
they could easily do. But I believe that. Yeah.
I mean, 50 gallons of water is very heavy. It picked it up and threw it, and him and I can't remember. He said he had another person with him. They booked it, but I don't.
I would too. But I
Yeah.
mean, if I'm gonna try some sign language first, but if that doesn't work, I'm booking it. But I mean,
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about it this way. Gorillas, the silver black gorillas weren't discovered until the early 20th century. So, I mean, it's a good possibility. The locals there used to talk about giant apes in the woods, and everybody always like, yeah, yeah, whatever. It's not real. They'll see them until the earliest 20th century, where they found that the gorillas were real. So that's another species that we really don't know that much about. We've only known about since like I think it was like the 1950s, the 1940s when they were discovered. So I mean that's early 20th century that they were discovered.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's a
I mean,
possibility.
there are tons
There's
of
a
species we didn't find out about until the last 50 years. I mean,
there's
gorillas
also
are.
there's a race of chimpanzees that are 6 feet tall that weigh 300 pounds that walk on their hind legs in Africa also.
Man, gotta be quiet. I escaped from there, but
Yeah.
but no, but I mean, yeah, it's just. I mean, we just what was it? We just found giant squids. I mean, colossal squids. We just discovered them what in the 90s,
Right,
and
right.
there's been stories about them for hundreds and hundreds of years as well since we were
When
exploring the oceans.
when I was just a little young casket searching, the internet for all this stuff, the giant squid was considered just a myth. I mean, some myths have to be based, I think some myths are based on fact in some way, some shape, or how. And the stories molded as time went.
Well, we'll go. We're gonna stick on that topic a little bit because what do you think of dogmen?
Uh, Dogman, like the werewolf or just the dogman?
See, they are one and the same thing, kind of, because I personally hate the word werewolf because I believe that werewolf became a thing because there actually are dogmen out there, but
Hmm.
humans took it and they added all this folklorish stuff to it, like, oh, it only turns to the full moon. Oh, a silver bullet can kill it. Like,
Right.
I mean, when
Well,
we,
as in that, all myth can be. I think most myth is based in reality. There is a possibility that there could be a dog man. It's something I haven't seen. I've heard the stories. I've heard the stories, and some of the witnesses are very credible. Police officers, stuff like that, witnessing these. So I mean, it's a grand possibility that it definitely could be.
yeah, I mean, well, if you do start checking out the small town monster stuff, which you should because it's done well.
Yeah.
There's the Beast of Bray Road they did a documentary on, and
Hmm.
they just did one in the last couple of years right before COVID called Rougarou American Werewolves.
Hmm.
And I mean, Dogmen. About when I first heard about Dogmen, I was like, yeah, right, that can't be real. And then I searched it on Google, and I went to this website, the North American Dogmen Project.
Hmm.
There is a map on that website of all these sightings people reported of dogmen. There literally are red dots covering every state in the continental United States.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and so I mean, it's even if I like to say, even if 80% of those people are making up false lies about things they saw, 20% of those would still be enough to scare me shitless and not make me want to go in the woods at night. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, to this day, the New Hampshire State Wildlife Fish and Game refused to acknowledge the fact that large cats do roam the woods of New Hampshire, and they refuse to. They've caught them on game trail, like mountain lions. They're in New Hampshire. They just
oh
won't
yeah,
admit it. They won't admit it. I mean, my parents, my mother and father told me a story about them witnessing a black one, and it does what a cat does. How they explain it. Both my parents, my father has an eighth grade education. My mother graduated from high school, but they're very old, but they have no reason to make. But my father, the way he explained it was it bounced from one side of the road right to like the middle and then jumped to the end. And he said it was a black cat that was gigantic.
I 100% believe that because there's a
Hmm.
phenomenon out there called ABCs or alien big cats, and
Hmm.
it basically means big cats where they shouldn't be.
Yep.
And
Yep.
when I was 8 or 9 in New York, in New Paltz, New York, I don't know if you heard of it, but it's a very hippie-ish, Woodstockian like town.
Hmm.
And basically, my father went to a scuba diving shop there where he got certified. He was going there to pick up some equipment or whatever for his next dive. And as
Hmm.
we're leaving, and this place is in the middle of the woods, as we're
Hmm.
leaving, we saw something walking into a brush on the one side of the road, and the tail looked like a lion's tail.
Hmm.
And like no one believed us because this was the 90s. So
Right.
my my dad called the New York Wildlife Department, the fishing game department, whatever you want to call them, and they straight up said they're like, we can't confirm or deny that that mountain lions are back in New York, but
Mhm.
we have had plenty of reports of people saying they've seen them.
Yeah, it's for some reason they just don't want to admit, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, why?
Well,
You know what I
actually,
mean?
in the late 2000s, like around 2008, 2009, my dad came. I was living with my dad at that point, and he came running
Mhm.
into my bedroom. And he's like, "See," and like he showed me a printout of his computer where the New York Fish and Wildlife Department actually admitted that back in the 90s they were rehoming mountain lions and other big cats back into New York to try to get them to try to control the deer population.
That's kind of something they should have let people know about. But of course, at the same time, people are automatically afraid of big cats, so they would have gone hunting them. I can see particular people would just be like, "Oh, let's go get them lions," There's people that's
Yeah,
just they're fearful, so they have it's
I
another thing
mean,
in New Hampshire. Another thing in New Hampshire that exists here that the fishing game is water moccasins, the snakes, venomous snakes. They say they don't exist. They do. I've caught them. I have caught them when I was a child. They used to lay on the water as the sun was coming up to soak in all the sun, and used to wade out to them and slowly sneak up and just grab them. And they have fangs, and you can mess with their fangs and have venom coming out of them. I've caught them before when I was a kid, and they still deny that they exist this far north. They're supposed to be. They said they're only as far north as like Kentucky. It's not true. They're up here too.
oh, I 100% believe they're up here. I mean, I am not a snake person by any means, so you never would find me as a kid trying to catch a snake. I would be running the other
Yeah,
way. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I was fearless as a child, so I was like, yeah, snakes. Ghost. On the other hand, scared. Snakes. Man, no, no, no.
no, no, I was brought up by a mother and a grandmother that feared snakes like death. So
Also,
I,
you gained that fear. That's what happened.
oh yeah, 100 fucking 50%. But my my son is all
Yeah.
into snakes. I tell him, I'm like, as long as they're just garter snakes, look at them all you want, try to catch them. I don't care. I'm like, if
Yep.
they're any kind of bright color or they have a loud sounding thing at the end of their tail, stay the hell away from them
Mhm.
and run.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
I'm not taking you to the ER because you got bitten by a rattlesnake. So
Right. Yeah. Well, rattlesnakes do exist in the mountainous terrain around here too. That's actually something that they recently I've noticed that they admit that happens is there are some rattlesnakes in the mountainous terrain here in New Hampshire. I know that.
in Gardner, Massachusetts, there's rattlesnakes. They admit it.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Yep.
if you Google it online, they exist in Gardner. They've been found and pictured, and they exist in New York. They've been found and pictured a lot in New York in the mountains. But
Yep. Now there's something in the woods that I never was able to explain, and this is I've heard. I used to work in the woods as a logger, and there's something that the loggers have called since my grandfather's day the speed demons. And these are things that would move fast through the woods, and you weren't able to see them, but they would move trees. Like you would see the trees get moved out of the way. And I remember the first time I ever saw one, and I was told that it was what they call a speed demon. And they've been around. My grandfather was cutting trees in the woods in like the 1930s, the 1940s, and they even had them back then.
speed demons, that's a new
Yep.
one.
That's another local Ossipee legend. The one of the towns that my family's from. My family was in that town since the 1780 is when my family moved into the town of Ossipee, and they kind of never left. Uh, but yeah, that's another local legend from the loggers and the area out there.
Wonder if that's related to the Jersey Devil in any way.
I've always been very interested in the Jersey Devil, the legend behind it, the story. Oh, I love the Jersey Devil. That's a uh, the whole story of it. I've always found fascinating. I was actually very fascinated with it at a younger age, completely fascinated. I've done a lot of research on it, and I've always wanted to go to the Pine Barrens in New Jersey and check it out. So that's probably one thing I will end up doing someday.
I've driven through the Pine Barrens, but I never actually stopped and did anything there. But I've driven through them, which my dad and me basically said to each other as we're driving through them, like, well, I could definitely see that the mafia's hiding bodies here. I could see that happening, but
Right,
I
right,
mean,
right.
because it's some thick ass woods. But
Well, at the same time, my when it goes back to the speed demon thing, my nephew, my two nephews told me this story. This also happened in the woods of Ossipee, because I mean I was always the weird uncle, so they always come tell me the weird stuff that happens. Weird stuff. Let's go talk to Uncle Justin. It's weird. So they were walking through the woods hunting turkey, and they were like, "Wow, look at the moon! It's right there." And then my other nephew was like, "It's not the moon. There's a bright light following them as they're going." And they kind of come to this clearing, and what they describe as a stereotypical gray alien was standing there. They fired upon it. They fired upon it. Okay? Obviously, being scared, they fired upon it.
Yeah.
Nothing hit the creature, but it jumped. It moved so fast that it jumped in through the bushes. And they said as they did, it was like the bushes spread themselves apart. And the thing was gone. It was fast. So I have a theory about the speed demons that it's actually some kind of alien creature or something in those woods. I mean, they've had UFO sightings since the 1800s. UFOs coming out of Connor's Pond, which is a pond that's so deep in Ossipee that a lot of people don't even know how deep it is. Like the fish and game don't know how deep it is.
Huh. Which Yeah, I mean, well, actually, I've seen you post videos on Facebook of possible UFO encounters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a firm believer in UFOs, man. It's a real thing. I mean, obviously the government's admitting it now too, but I mean, for a long time in that area, growing up, I grew up in the area. It's the middle of nowhere. I've witnessed numerous things in the skies that don't make sense. Numerous. I mean, this is
I have,
even before
yeah,
even cell phone cameras. Now that we have good cell phone cameras, anytime I witness anything, I'm right there. Because I've seen some of the stuff that I've seen. I've wished that I had a camera at the time because it's just unbelievable. Like I've seen things look like they explode into pieces and then suck back together. Like
huh?
it's crazy.
Like,
Never seen never.
like, like Tony Stark's Iron Man suit in a way, kind of.
But it's a ball. Starts as
Yeah.
a bright yellow ball in the sky, and it just went like this, no sound, no anything, and then just go back together, start moving, does it again, goes back together, starts moving forward. We chased this thing in a car and lost it. It went too fast. We couldn't keep up with
Huh.
it. I
Well,
was 16 at the time when that happened.
I mean, I saw a UFO. I've seen a UFO only one time, and it was a cluster of them. Because my wife is originally from Hanson, Massachusetts, which is
Hmm.
the Bridgewater Triangle area. So
Hmm.
we were walking into the house one evening, and my stepson says to me, he's like, "Why is that group of stars moving?" And I'm like,
Oh,
"What are you talk?" I'm like, "What are you like?" I was drinking, so I was like, "What are you talking about? Stars don't move." And then
right.
he's like, "Look up." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Buddy, those aren't stars." I'm like,
Yeah.
I never seen it before, but I fully believe in it. So those aren't stars. That's a cluster of UFO ships moving at the same speed in a pattern almost. Which I mean, the Bridgewater Triangle is known for that stuff, so I can't explain it by any means, but
Yeah.
it
See,
was definitely
up north where I grew up, I'm convinced that it's a UFO hotspot. It's just a lot of people don't report it because it's very frowned upon. Matter of fact, the day that we saw that, we went to report it and were laughed at, so we didn't report it. And then
yeah.
and then when we tried to report it to other places, we were told that it was the military doing flare, just dropping flares out of one of their airplanes. This bullshit. It was not
Yeah.
any kind of flares that do that at all. We do not have that technology. The speed that it was going at, impossible. Impossible. No sounds. I mean, I've seen stuff right over my head. And I'm talking, I've seen a triangle UFO go right over my head, probably about 30 feet above me. And I was able to, in detail. But at the time, I had my phone in my hand, but I was mesmerized by what I was seeing so much that I couldn't even hit record on my phone. I was amazed. I'd never seen anything like that. Misty has witnessed a triangle UFO up here in Raymond. I didn't witness that, but she did.
Yeah, I've heard other reports of triangle UFOs. Actually, one of my fellow podcasters from Bracket Bastards is going to be on here eventually talking about that he saw out in Iowa. But I mean, it's just aliens have to exist. They have to. Ever since I was a kid, I couldn't believe that they wouldn't. If
It's
you
just
think,
weird shit that it's just too much. It's too much weird shit. It's too many people witnessing it. The government's now coming out. You know, they show the Tic Tac UFO stuff like that. You know, Commander David Fravor's video and all that stuff. It's just it's I feel like there's some shit that they're not wanting to tell us. They're like, so these are here. We don't know what they are. We don't know where they're coming from. So I feel that they're hiding something. I know they're hiding something. Everybody knows they're hiding something. They got to be hiding something because why would they just come out and admit this unless they had no choice? You know what I mean? Because these videos have been snuck out of military compounds before, and they just denied them. You know what I mean? This is not the first. This is not the first. You know, stuff that's come from the military that's been snuck out and shown. Why these particular videos, though? You know what I mean? Like there's something behind all of it that's forcing them to admit it, and I feel they're gonna have no choice but to have disclosure sooner or later.
yeah, I mean, it goes back to even like to I want to say it was Eisenhower back when the Valiant Thor incident happened in Washington, where they an a Norse alien, as they call them, was living in the Pentagon, the White House, for weeks and weeks when we first got into nuclear after we dropped the bombs on Japan, and they were
Mhm.
trying. He was trying to convince the world to stop using nuclear weapons. Apparently, it didn't
Yeah.
work, but he tried, and
I'm telling you, their sudden appearance around the sudden mass appearance of them after we became a nuclear power means something. It has to
yeah,
mean something. You know, it's either one of two things. I have a theory on it. They are aliens. They are from another planet, and they don't want us to fuck up like they did at one time. Or two, I feel like that they could be time travelers. I feel like they could be us, what we evolve to in the future, because if you listen to the abduction stories, what do the people say? It sounds like they're talking in their head. Now, Elon Musk is doing he's creating the implant in your brain, and he said you don't even have to talk using words. Okay, that's
yeah,
it. That's the first thing. Now, if you think about how the evolution, how we evolve, okay, now we're getting smarter. We're not getting bigger. We're getting smaller, and humans are getting smaller. It's proven. We are getting smaller and smaller every human born. Now, imagine 1,000 or even 1,000,000 years of that continuing. Something happens. We have to go underground. Our eyes get bigger to see in the dark more. You know what I mean? Because any creature that's found underground, if they do have eyes, their eyes are huge because so that way they can actually take in the giant squid. The giant squid has the largest eyes of any creature on the planet. Why? Because it's so deep in the ocean that the little bit of light it gets is able to reflect from its giant eye.
yep. Which I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I've heard the time travel theory before as well, but I just feel like we can't. And as big as our universe is, we can't be the only planet that has intelligent life.
Oh, no way, man. I was actually just I was watching a show the other day, and they said that they believe there's at least one planet for every single star we can see in our sky.
Oh yeah, I've heard that theory, and I agree with that theory because I
Eh,
mean,
There's more stars in our sky than there is grains of sand on Earth combined.
yep,
So even if there's a nine, if only 1% of the universe has life, it's teeming in life.
it's just a matter
Sorry,
of time. It's
your
just a
mom's
matter of
outside.
it's just a matter of time until we find out the truth, or until because I mean, I think
Sorry,
it's all
I,
good.
I don't know.
My
Okay.
it's all good. My co-host likes to drop in here sometimes too to be a co-host of my show. So
Yeah, it's my stepdaughter. She's trying to find her phone, and it's not in here, so I can't help
yeah,
her.
yeah. My 5-year old stepdaughter likes to come in sometimes and watch my videos while I'm doing them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
uh, I mean, I don't know. There's so many different types of aliens that have been recorded too, like Greys, reptilians, Norse,
Right.
insectoids, and I've even heard less of these, but I've heard of like aliens that look like kind of like Mon Calamari, like Admiral Akbar, kind of almost.
Right. I mean, it's just you guys think of it this way. If you think only one, if they were, if only okay, so imagine like if somebody had a billion years of evolution. We're only here because of the end of the dinosaurs and the mammals were able to rise up. Now imagine if the dinosaurs were able to continue their evolution for how many 66 million years.
Yeah,
We've only been
we
here and we've been here for a blink in that terms.
we actually talked about that a little bit on my other show I did last night, Global Strangeness.
Hmm.
Because we were covering like the Loveland Frogman and the Scape or Swamp Lizardman and other
Yeah,
reptilian amphibian cryptids, and there actually was a scientist who he believed there was something in the dinosaur time that was called the dinosauroid, and he called it that, and it was basically a humanoid dinosaur.
I've heard stories about that, and that's what they think the reptilian aliens could be, is that they actually just left here. Or they live on the moon. That's another one I've heard too.
Oh no, I'm not going down the wormhole of the moon because I
The
could spend a
moon, the moon's a new one for me. I actually, I watched that movie Moonfall,
yeah.
and I was like, that's really interesting, but that could be true. And so I started, and I'm like, this has been a thing for 60 years. People have been claiming this, and I'm like, so I recently just fell down that rabbit hole of the moon, and I'm like, oh my god, this makes so much sense. Why is nobody talking about this? you know?
Oh, they have been.
Oh, I know.
But they,
Obviously, we hit the belt, we hit the moon with something. It rang for 25 minutes. Come on, it's hollow.
yeah, I mean the moon is a whole nother thing. I If you look at the conference when Neil Armstrong and the other ones came back from the first time on the moon,
Their face,
they
the look on their
their
face, man.
yeah, their face just shows pure fear, like they saw something they never wanted to see in their life and they just saw it.
Yeah, they definitely. Hi, baby. No, they definitely did not. They saw something there on the moon that scared the living shit out of them. She's fine. She's just chilling with them. Yeah. No, they saw something that literally scared the shit out of them. They were not guys that came back looking like the triumphant heroes that walked on the moon. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, they were just tired. Nah, dude, that's not how you react even when you're tired. Something scared them.
Yeah, either something scared them up there, or they saw something up there, and the government scared them enough when they first got back, saying like, "If you ever talk about this, then you will never see a daylight again." Like,
Right, right. But I mean, you know, you know, some of them have admitted that they saw stuff. Some of the guys that walked on the moon have claimed they've seen things, and on them they said that there was craft on the side of the crater there watching them while they were there doing their thing. I mean, also, have you heard about the hidden the the hidden transmissions?
I have to some degree on that one. I'm not.
It's like this
See,
transmission.
I never have enough time to research
Yeah,
all this
like
shit as much as I like to.
other people. Oh, oh, here we go.
You there?
Going in and out. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
You're back now, I think.
yeah. I was here the whole time, so it was you freezing. It looked like to me,
Oh,
but son of a.
uh-oh.
Oh,
Uh-oh. You're
all
frozen.
right. Hold on a sec. Don't go anywhere.
Yep.
All right, there we go. That better?
You're back. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wanted to try jumping out that time and coming back in,
Ah.
and the
But
echoes
yeah,
don't.
I mean the hit.
Oh no, it's not. Damn it.
Oh, no, no, no.
But
But yeah, I mean the hidden transmissions of the moon. People were claiming that they picked up during the blackout period that they could hear what they're saying on the moon. You know.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could do a whole
Oh,
episode on the moon
you
theory
froze. You
alone, but
froze again.
did I? Crap.
Oh, Oh,
It
are you
looks like
working now? No.
it
Oh,
seems
I
like
can hear you.
yeah, I'm working. It just seems like you're freezing like in place there, like constantly. Can you hear me now still or no? The hell's going on
Uh
here? I think
oh.
the government's
I
stopping
don't
us.
think they want us talking about the moon conspiracies.
That's exactly what I'm saying. But all right, well,
Uh oh.
son of a bitch.
We start talking about the moon and everything's getting messed up now.
Yep.
Hold on, let me see if I leave and come back if it'll work.
Better.
Better. It's like we start talking about the moon conspiracies and it's like, no, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. I still think you could hear me, but
Mhm.
all right. Well, let's do one more creature, and then we're gonna have to call it a night because I do have another show in a half hour. It's a
That's fine.
it's a double book night, but we were just all right. Let's try this one because I always like to get people with this one. A lot of people don't know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Have you heard of mirrored men?
Mirrored men, like people that are in the mirror that are not supposed to be there.
No,
Oh,
no,
oh, are you talking about a mirror image of you?
nope.
No? All right, I'm interested.
I first heard about this phenomenon on Monsters Among Us podcast, Derek Hayes
Mhm.
show, which Derek Hayes will be on my show towards the middle of this month. But
Okay.
mirrored men is basically three humanoid looking male figures that walk in synchronicity. Usually there's three of them. They walk every movement that one makes, the other two make. And people
Really?
report seeing the reported being seen a lot in rural areas like where you're from. And
Yep.
a lot of stories of kids like looking out their windows like in the 90s or 2000s, like at night, like at 9, 10 o'clock at night, they were looking out their window and they see these three men walking down the street. And then all of a sudden, all three men will look at them in the window. And then when they come to, it's 5, 6 in the morning.
That's fucking terrifying.
Which I mean, it's a you should look. I advise anybody. I bring this up all the time, and a lot of people have never heard of it. So I tell them
Yeah.
like look into it. But I
Mm,
mean, it's
I've got it now. That's
there's
that's
there,
interesting.
there's two theories about it that basically are out there. It's
Yeah.
either they're alien related because of the losing time element,
Right. Right.
and the other theory, which is a less believed one, is that they're Men in Black related.
True. That's so fucking strange though. Mirror man, that's cool. That's
But
something cool. I gotta look into that.
but I also have heard stories of a woman who was hiking in the woods out west, and
Mhm.
she saw three of them come walking out of the woods in what looked like hiking gear, but the same way, the synchronicity walking and all of them just looking like they don't walk like normal humans. And
Well, that sounds like it could be a glitch in the Matrix.
that's another thing that's been suggested as well. But
And then,
the whole glitch in the
well,
matrix thing is kind of like a lot of people don't take it seriously.
well, I mean,
I do,
particular
but
people have. I think it's up. Yeah, because I mean, there's particular. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It was the Bernstein Bears, bro. I do not care. I read those books when I was a kid a lot. Those are
me
my
too.
favorite. Those are my favorite books, and I can specifically remember them being called the Bernstein Bears, not the Bernstein Bears. That's no. That's enough.
Yeah, I mean it was Bernstein. I know that too. I read him when I was a kid as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
we could go into a whole. There's a whole episode I could do on the fucking Mandela effect. But
Oh my God, the Mandela effect is not. And you think about it, that wasn't brought up until around 2012 when they first turned on the Large Hadron Collider and over in fucking France.
yeah, which I mean I don't know, but the mirrored men thing is a whole nother thing where it's just weird. I mean, there
That
was
is weird.
the woman in the woods, like she was walking during like the middle of like late morning, early afternoon when she saw them, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden she came to. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and her whole family was out looking for her because they didn't know where she was for the last like 12 hours.
Jesus. Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely have to look into that. That's crazy.
It's pretty. It's there's
So
been
they move.
maybe
So they move in perfect sync with each other.
yeah.
That's so
It's
weird.
it's
Now
it,
now I want
it's
to see it.
It's almost like one of those guys you see that has like two dummies like attached to poles with them, and like he's walking, and they all look like they're. It's when I think of
Yeah.
it, I think of that. I think of that when I think of it. Like it looks like that, but the losing
Is there
time
any?
thing. Good.
Was it ever caught on film? Has it ever been caught on film or anything?
I don't believe so, because most people who see them are not expecting to see anything because they're just doing their daily life.
Right.
And a lot of them were seen before
Right.
cell phones were a thing. I mean, they're still seen to this day,
Yeah.
but it's just I think on
So
Monsters
fucking
Among.
weird. Man.
I mean, if you can hear the stories, if you go to Monsters Among Us and just search Mirrored Men, it's usually in the title of the episode if he has like stories about it. And he actually did a
Yeah.
full he did a full episode just about stories from about Mirrored Men encounters. But
Ah,
there's
that's yeah. I'm definitely gonna check that out. That's interesting.
there's probably a few dozen stories on his podcast about him, and a couple other podcasts have brought it up. But it's one of the newest like phenomenons in paranormal world that people can't explain.
Yeah, that's definitely not convinced, especially with the missing time. There's different things like colluded into one on that. Because is it something that's cryptozoology? Is it something that has to do with aliens? Does it have to do with Men in Black? Everything is connected to something that can be connected to that. So it's like a little bit of everything. You know what I mean?
100%. Which I mean, it's just it's weird. It's weird, but we are going to have to wrap it up for tonight, but maybe I'll get Justin Casket back for another show eventually just to do more creature feature because we didn't even cover 3/4 of my list. So,
That's all right.
which
We'll get it.
I'm sure we will someday. But
Yep.
where can other podcasts find you if they want to get you on?
They can find me on my Facebook, Casket Justin Eldridge. They can search me there. Um, my Facebook page for Casket, Closed Casket Paranormal, stuff like that. Uh, we will be, we're going to be doing more investigations. Hoping to start working on the documentary about the Archer's Pond Road in Ossipee soon. Try to get that done. It'll probably take me a year or two to get that done and all that. But yeah, basically just find me on Facebook, Casket Kazkit Justin Eldridge, and just send me a message and yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, and as everybody knows, all my listeners know, you can find me on the Paranormal Than Normal Facebook group, and you can see everything I do there. All 4 podcasts I'm on at this point now, plus all the other ones I guest on constantly. So find me there, and I will catch you all next time. I will be well, no one's watching, so but I'll be back in 20. I'll be back in 20 minutes with another show. So
Alrighty.
love it.